So I hope this is a little bit better than last time. I still have to do the front facing camera, so it's backwards, but I hope it's good enough. I did managing conflict and negotiating, so this is chapter 10. I found a lot of interest in this one, just because I deal with conflict a lot, and negotiating, trying to make sure each party is equal. So basically I just explained to you what conflict and negotiating is. So conflict is when two different parties or two groups have something that they are both conflicted on. So having a disagreement, basically. And then negotiating is trying to find things that you could give up or compromise on to make sure there's not so much conflict. So basically, I'll start off with dysfunctional right here, conflict. I'll bring you in just so you can see it a little bit better. Dysfunctional conflict. So dysfunctional conflict, as you can see right here, I have two sad face because it's when two parties both don't get what they want. They're both very angry. So yeah, not very good. No party is like willing to give up anything. The next one is constructive conflict here. So I have two smiley faces next to that one because it's when two parties come together and they share the same thing that's going on, that's going wrong. So they kind of understand each other. Relationship conflict is the next one. I also put two sad faces. It's when a relationship, it's not gonna work. They both can't agree on certain things and it's just, they're not compatible, basically. And then conflicts of interest. So you can see right here, I used an example of MSU and U of M because what just happened. So it was also a good example, but it's when people have two different interests in, well, it's a conflict of interest, so two different interests, or they can be kind of competitive with it. So I used the biggest rivalry in Michigan as an example of that. By the way, go green, even though we lost. Next thing is values of conflict. Good. Or I used God versus science. The reason I used God versus science is because this one is on the values that we have in our value system. So some people are atheists, so they believe that science and facts of history have led us to where we are, and others believe in God and what the Bible taught us. So that's just a value of conflict. The next one is informational conflict. This one is when people have wrong information or skewed information, and that's kind of why I put the facts with a cross between it, because none of the facts are true. We'll do escalating and de-escalating together, these two right here, because they're kind of the same thing. So an escalating conflict is when people don't reason and they just start off attacking you right away. So that's never a good thing. De-escalating the conflict obviously is taking a breath and figuring it out. So that's the difference between those two. And I'm going to come down to the bottom. I might be able to set this up over here, that way we can see it a little bit better. Go one by one. Bring it closer. Sorry, this is all over the place. So we're going to start with collaborating. So it's the desire to give both parties what they want. So, I forgot to tell you, interpersonal conflict management strategy. So these are just strategies to get through conflict. So collaborating is giving each party what they want. So, trying to figure out a way that you can do that, and very rarely, I'm sure that really works. You have to give up something usually most of the time. And that's where compromise comes in. It's where each side sacrifices something. That's collaborating. So, like I said, when you give up something, each one of you. Competing is pursuing one's own interest at the expense of the other. So, saying that I want, for the MSU U of M, saying go green instead of go blue, even though you know your friend likes blue. So accommodating is cooperative conflict. So it's even though you know that there's conflict, you're still cooperating and understanding each other. And then avoiding, it is ignoring conflict or denying it exists. So this is never a good thing to do, because who wants to avoid conflict? You have to negotiate, which is what we're going to lead into. So negotiating process. So there's two different kinds of negotiation. First is distributive negotiation, and that's any gain by one that is offset by the loss of another. So like if you were to gain something and your partner or other party is losing something. And there's integrative negotiation where it's a win-win for both sides. That's kind of why I put this picture here. It's kind of a handshake. It's used almost everywhere, and it's just saying, basically symbolizing like we can work through anything, which I really, honestly, I wish we all could do that in the world more often. Make it the world a way better place. So they go through a process of negotiating as well. Didn't list it here because I figured I could just talk about it instead. But basically it goes into what to do and what not to do when negotiating. So always look for the other person's interest. Never leave them out to dry, and kind of sums it up. To be honest, that's why I didn't put it on here. I just didn't. I think it's pretty much common sense what negotiating is. It's putting the person's needs and yours first. So making sure you guys, it's a win-win situation all the time, which is what integrative negotiation is. So that's kind of what I have today for you. See you next time.